Let me call to order the November meeting of the Board of Trustees of Ames Community College. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we begin our regular agenda, I just would like to acknowledge the passing of Jim McLaughlin, who was twice our interim vice president for administrative services, was anything but an interim, anything but a placeholder. He's the one who convinced us or did the research to determine that we really could be debt-free in his first stint here when he took over under very difficult circumstances. And again, this past spring when he was here with us and continued to do research on all sorts of things for us. And it's just very sad. So he will be missed.
You're here.
All right, moving back to our agenda, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda for our meeting today? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ray. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Public comment.
Here she goes.
Hi, Madam Chair. No one has registered to provide public comment today.
Thank you. We are looking forward to the future when Larry has promised us that he will provide public comment at probably all future meetings.
Hang on.
Please, and I have said, please look for that item to be deleted from our agenda. Or it will specifically address those who can and cannot address the board. Moving to our consent agenda. You have a lengthy consent agenda today. These are policies that we have reviewed in a work session previously. These are up for adoption by the board. Are there any that you would like to discuss and therefore pull from the consent agenda?
No.
Not me.
No.
Nope.
Then may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda? It also includes the minutes of the October 4th meeting.
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you, Larry. Thank you, Ray. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, the motion carries. Okay, we're up to board representative reports. Ames Faculty Association. Sonia.
Hello. All right, so I have several things to announce. The first thing I'm going to start with is the Colorado Community College Systems 2-2 Conference. We had multiple faculty members from a variety of disciplines attend the 2-2 at Pueblo Community College. And currently several faculty members are working on reviewing and revising the state discipline content guides and also some course numbering system changes. For our faculty, Rebecca Saylor was the co-conference chair along with the English department and hosted the National TICA, I think is how it's pronounced, TICA group or conference. And that's a 2-year conference on college English associations, and they have operated since 1960. She had a lot of great things that happened with that particular event. Then we also have Jennifer Bailey, and she attended over the summer an ANDEV 360, which was an Android development conference in Denver. She also hosted a College for Kids program called Crazy for Code during the College for Kids event. She co-organized and was the event host for another GDG, Northern Colorado group, with Google. And then in October, she presented an activity for kids at the Google Boulder Developers Group for family, and it was a nice festival. Margaret Lambeth, who is one of our adjunct faculty members, she co-authored with Eden Welker an article for the Signature magazine entitled Service Learning at Ames Community College. She also currently serves on the Learning Council, the College Council, and the Part-Time Faculty Task Force. She is a part-time faculty member in Arts and Sciences, and she's also the AFA representative and helps with the FTLC think tank. And then she helped Meg Spencer manning the booth for Ames Read Table at the Fallen in Fort Lupton, and also facilitated 2 discussion groups in Fort Lupton. One of our art adjunct faculty members, Johanna Mueller, was a guest artist at the studio of Ashley Shepler, who is a photographer in Denver, and she did a couple workshops and also had an exhibition. I want to announce that the graphic design department is going to be hosting the Northern Colorado Design Slam on Friday, November 10th from 10 to 2 right here in this theater. It's based on the American Institute for Graphic Artists, and it's a design slam. And it's featuring Ames, UNC, and Front Range Community College. We also have a wonderful exhibition going on at the Loveland campus, A Veteran's Journey, retold through art. The opening is November 10th from 6 to 8 p.m., and we will be featuring stories of 15 veterans, and they created special photo collages, and those are designed by Ames students. One of the things I wanted to mention that I found on the web is the Monday motivations done through the park building. I love those. I just want to say, I don't know if anyone's here from the recreation department, but those are amazing. I watch them. I do them in my office, so if you pass me by and you see me jumping on a chair, that's why. We also have 35 programs and departments that are working on assessment projects with Ross. There's approximately 130 plus full and part-time faculty members participating in these particular assessment projects. And then the last thing I have is 4 faculty members and instructional staff have taken the QM training and are all applying those QM principles to their courses. Those faculty members are Rebecca Saylor, Lewis Carter, Francie Rotini, and Allison Easley. And that's it for faculty.
Thank you.
Lots and
Very
lots.
Good afternoon.
Okay, Staff Association.
Good afternoon. Thank you. The Staff Association, beginning next week, will start working in earnest on our fundraiser for our College for Kids scholarships. So we're asking for departments and individuals within the college to donate gift baskets that will be sold through a silent auction at the employee holiday party on December 11th. Ames Gives Back Day at the Will County Food Bank will be Friday, November 17th from 1 to 4. And then we would like to recognize Erin Miyoshi. Erin received 2 ripples this last month, one from Mark Urso and the other from Tracy Warner. And Mark says that Erin deserves to be recognized on many levels. She is the program coordinator for surgical technology and radiology technology. Erin handles a myriad of duties within the surgical technology department. She is the conduit for all student intake, and as such, she is the first person that most students meet when they begin their journey into their program. She is highly professional and empathetic to our students. She has become invaluable to the program directors and faculty that she works within their division. She seeks extra duties and is one of the most motivated office personnel Mark has ever worked with. When the new sterile instrument processing program was unexpectedly approved last November, Erin's hard work and attention to detail yielded a great cohort of students that were ready to go in January. And her exceptional work ethic is only exceeded by her upbeat and friendly personality. She also received a ripple from Tracy Warner, and at the time it was Program Application Collection Month, and they have no idea what they would do without Erin. She makes the process smooth and organized, and they thank Erin for all that she does. And that's all for Ames Staff Association today.
Thank you.
Super.
As always, it's wonderful to hear about awesome staff and the things they're doing to contribute to our family. Cody.
Hello. Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Bornstein and the Board of Trustees for welcoming me here today again. Last month, PTK, Phi Theta Kappa, and student government worked together to conduct 10 student focus groups on campus, and this is in conjunction to help with shaping the 2018-2023 strategic plan that is currently in development. The topics were from barriers to what students think success are, to what they believe represented groups to diversity on campus are. So we really just surveyed them and got their input. and then provided that to the College Council and Dr. Bornstein. So we also had the Breathe Easy event in conjunction with the Tobacco and Smoke-Free Task Force, which provided students an opportunity to get to know the Ames's new smoking policy that's going to be implemented. And we got to survey 238 participants were at that event that day, so quite a bit. We also have been having several smoke and tobacco-free town hall meetings on various campuses to kind of talk to the students and faculties and staff to once again bring awareness to the new smoking policy on campus. And at the Loveland campus, there were 33 students. At the Greeley campus, there was 44 in attendance, and Fort Lupton today had 35. And there's another one happening in the Windsor campus later this week. We also had the Trick or Treat track yesterday, which was really fun. Like, it was an amazing event. It was a little bit larger than last year's. Last year we had 241 tickets given out, and this year we had 320. I want to make sure I got that number right. And we also had, on the Loveland campus, we had a Ghostly Gala social. So there was some Halloween events happening on more than one campus. And I would like to also mention that we have an H2H event, the American Winter, and we will be collecting shoes, coats, socks, and caches. We won't be accepting shoes this time, but we will be accepting coats, socks, and cash. There'll be boxes and collections all over campus to provide those donations. And thank you very much for supporting us and welcoming me here, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Any questions for any of them from the board?
Just amazing activities, Madam Chairman. Wonderful.
Thank you. President's report, Dr. Bornstein.
Thank you. We'd like to invite Dr. Kish to come up and give the academic affairs report. She would like to also give us a little bit of, not really an update, but some ideas about future accreditation models, and accreditation never stops.
A little less this week, though, so that's good. I think, Sonia, you stole a little bit of my report, or about half of it, which is awesome. That's great. Anyway, I just wanted to reiterate, one of our strategic plan goals this year was to host a regional conference, and we did that with the TICA conference, and here's just the program, and it was run by Rebecca Saylor and the English and Communications Department. They did a ton of work in coordination with Colorado Mountain College and our FTLC. So I'll just pass this around if you want to take a peek at it. Also at that conference, we had Raina Grand, who also came and did our Inclusiveness Council's book read. And we had about 175 people attend that event. It was a fantastic event, and was connected to that, that conference as well, because she presented at the conference. Our workforce development area participated in the WeldWorks labor team. They've met a few times already. Upstate Economic Development and Employment Services of Weld County are participating in that as well. And we've given a tour at our ATTC building for approximately 30 people came that day to tour the building, and we've got great feedback on that. And the Weld County Workforce Board meeting was held here as well. We hosted that. And one other update before we get into accreditation, our Ag and Industrial Tech departments got together and are collaborating on cross-training students in engineering and experience design. So we're very excited about that. So you ready to talk about accreditation? First, I want to thank you and pass around just a thank you card for participating. And everyone in the audience, thank you too for your participation. So one of the questions that they asked us at the end of the visit was, are we interested in a different pathway? And so I wanted to talk with you a little bit about what pathways are available to us. And there's actually, I have up on the board two pathways. There's actually a third, and I'll just briefly mention that one as well. But currently we're on the one on the left, AQUIP. That is our pathway to accreditation. It means the Academic Quality Improvement Program, and it's based primarily on Baldrige design, but it's a little hard to see, I apologize, but I know you have it in your packet. This one is an 8-year cycle, It's very intensive, as you just experienced. And the years 1 and 2, we attend a strategy forum and have annual action projects. And those annual action projects happen all 8 years. In year 3, we prepare a systems portfolio. We get an appraisal back on that portfolio, and again, another annual action project. In year 4, we have a possible comprehensive quality review based on the systems portfolio, so they may visit us and do exactly what we did 2 weeks ago, and then an annual action project. Years 5 and 6, we do another strategy forum where we go to Chicago, and that's where about 3 to 8 people maybe would go and work on strategies for the college. Again, another annual action project. Year 7, another systems portfolio, and this is that 125-page document, very intensive. Another appraisal, and another annual action project. And then in year 8 is the comprehensive evaluation with an annual action project, and that evaluation is what we just went through. Are there any questions about the AQUIP pathway? All right, the other pathway that we wanted to discuss is the open pathway. And it's just a little less intense, if you will, and frankly less expensive for the college. Years 1 and 3, we prepare an assurance filing. Year 4, we submit the assurance review or filing, and we get a review back. Years 5 through 7, we have a quality initiative proposal 1. Years 7 and 9, we get a report. In year 10, so this is a 10-year cycle, we have a visit. One of the things to note, difference from AQUIP and Open, is AQUIP, we have to write to those 6 categories and meet the criteria for accreditation. So it's a little tricky. With Open, you just meet the criteria. The categories go away. So that's actually a good thing. And then the third pathway is very similar to Open, but it includes an additional visit in year 4. So that's about the only difference. Are there any questions?
Is Open and the third one from the same organization, or they would be?
Yeah. Yes, it's called Standard Pathway, and it's very similar to Open. It's just one more visit.
Is it offered by Open, or is it offered by another entity?
These are all through the Higher Learning Commission.
HCL?
Yes.
Regardless?
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
I think Open would be a fantastic option for us.
Keep it simple, kind of?
I think keep it simple, and I think that you get continuous improvement more kind of in the innovation realm versus in your compliance realm, and I think that would be a good thing for this college. Pardon?
Going forward.
Going forward, yes.
When do we make that
Yeah,
decision?
Well, we get a report back, in about 6 weeks-ish. We have an opportunity to respond, and then we'll get a final report a few weeks later. At that point, they'll let us know if we are able to choose. I think if we are able to choose, that's something we would encourage you to do. And sometimes the board will also place an organization on standard, and that is the third option.
So HLC would place us on standard?
That is correct.
Okay. So what's the timeline for when you would need a decision from the board or concurrence
I think
from
it's
the board?
30 days.
Mid
30 days
30.
from the notice, right?
Oh,
30 days, so it'd be relatively quick.
So we anticipate notice. It depends on when our draft is going to end up at their board level. They have a meeting in December, but we're not sure if we're actually going to make their agenda in December. They also have a meeting in February and in April. So we may make their agenda in December, where they would take a vote, and then we would get official letter as to our status of a reaccreditation, any monitoring reports if we have them, and so forth. And then once we get that official letter, then we've heard mixed reviews, either 30 days or 60 days. So between 1 and 2 months, we'll have to respond to them to, if we have a choice, if we're given a choice, as to which pathway we would like to go through. And one of the reasons that Dr. Kish is presenting this to you is through this wonderful process that we just went through, we've heard much from our faculty and much from our staff about the thought that open pathways might be a good model moving forward. And so since that seems to be a grassroots initiative, then we thought we should present that to you so you can be thinking about that as well. As Deb had mentioned, and as we all know, AQUIP is a very labor-intensive model, very labor-intensive. Open is not as labor-intensive. You can still have a very quality, wonderful experience with accreditation without reporting so frequently on so many items. The other thing I would say about open pathways is there's plenty of opportunity for an institution to add quality initiative projects and so forth. So it doesn't have to only happen in an AQUIP pathway. It can also happen in open that we choose. So as Deb was mentioning, the college then steps into its role driving forward or moving forward pretty much from a strategic initiative and then reporting out to an accrediting body, as opposed to with an AQUIP model, it's a little bit more compliance-oriented, where the compliance drives the institution's focus, if you will. So with a strong strategic planning process model and plan, open pathways is a really good option for us.
I think financially too, just to attend one of those strategy forums, that's $3,000 or $4,000 per person. You have to do that twice, taking up to 10 people. I know we went 3 or 4 years ago, and we took, I think, 15 people at the time, and so that's a significant amount of money. And then just the time involved in capturing the AQUIP pieces is pretty significant for our staff, faculty, and administrators as well. And it also in AQUIP, you're writing to 2 different things, which makes it very confusing for everyone, because you're writing to the AQUIP categories, which then are supposed to match up to the criteria, but you have to make that connection. It makes it a little difficult. So it's easier to write to just the criteria, what you're going to be judged on. So we write to those categories, and then when they come here, they assess us on the criteria in AQUIP. So it's a little more difficult.
Do we have the ability to kind of, if we don't agree with them, no, we want to go open, we have any negotiation, or are they kind of the soup Nazi of what you get to choose? Okay.
They let us know if we get to choose.
Okay, that's it.
That's it. That is correct.
And
Yep.
so what this means is that we were sort of being graded
Yeah.
with
There
that.
is an assessment.
So if we get an A, we can choose. If we get a B, nope, you got to stay where you are. And I mean, I always thought
Maybe
that
not, sort of.
accreditation was either you pass or fail, but it sounds to me like there's
Gradations.
graduations in there of some kind. So they really do
Is
They do.
there,
control the thing, huh?
They do.
is there indirect or conflict of interest? They probably obviously make more money with AQUIP than they do, or
It's-
is that not their role
That's not the
necessarily?
role in this. Yeah, the money is not, from our perspective, that is a factor we need to always pay attention to, how much you're spending on this. We should, as an institution of higher learning that's 50 years old, be an accredited institution. And we want to be an accredited institution.
yeah.
So to me, that's not a question. And we are in the Higher Learning Commission region. So we don't also have choice as to an accrediting agency. Our agency is Higher Learning Commission, period.
Okay.
So really, the only choices we do have is when they allow us to have a choice based on their visit. Now, there are so many different possible outcomes. We couldn't even tell you all of them, but to give you a couple, we could get a letter that says, woo-hoo. They won't say woo-hoo. I'll say woo-hoo. Great visit. You're in compliance in all the areas. Please let us know within 30 or 60 days if you want to stay with AQUIP or you want to go with open. they could say, woo-hoo, great visit, and we saw that you might need to work on this area, so we're going to monitor you for the next 6 months. We'd like to see a monitoring report 6 months or a year from now on this issue. And we also want to know if you want to stay with AQUIP or open. They also, there's so many ways, it's like a Rubik's Cube. They also could send a letter saying, great visit, we want to monitor you, and not give us an option right now. But after our monitoring report, 6 months or a year from now, then they may say, okay, now you have an option. So we really just have to wait for them to tell us. The reason we wanted to present this to you is that we have high hopes. And when we do get our letter saying woo-hoo, we wanted you to have some context and not just hear it from scratch right then and there, that the college really is interested in this other option for us. And if you wanted a work session or something on it beforehand, we can do that. This pretty much is the information. A little bit of behind-the-scenes information is there are now only 50 colleges that are using AQUIP. I don't know if you were aware of that. It's becoming less popular than it used to be. It started when community colleges and universities weren't really using a very strong strategic planning process or model, or kind of writing a strategic plan, sticking it on the shelf. So it came to be to really focus on continuous improvement. That really is passé now, because we're all kind of moving toward a much more interactive strategic planning process and accountability in that way. The other thing is that we're seeing our accrediting body move these two pathways really closer together. So open pathways that used to be called PEAK, actually you kind of wrote your report in years 7 to 9, and then you saw them in year 10 and you didn't do anything before. So now they're including a little bit of continuous improvement in the open pathway. So what will probably end up happening over the course of years, I would predict, is that these two will join into one option pathway at some point in our history. So
The clock starts from this fall, though, regardless. Whether it's an 8 or 10
it
year.
actually starts from our letter, doesn't it?
I don't know that.
I think it starts from our letter. I don't know that it starts from this fall,
Okay.
but we can
Well-
double check on that. I'm not sure.
Well, we're done with it now, so it's
Yeah.
already complete, so it'd be.
Well, in the AQUIP model, you're never done.
You're never done.
Truly, we had the visit year 8, and now we just move right back up to the top. Strategy forum, April is when we would do a strategy forum. What's our next annual? So it's continuous.
But is there some concern on your part that we might be suggested that we stay where we are? We don't have a choice. Is there any concerns that you're aware of that would?
No, I don't think so. I think based on the reports that we got and the visit that we had, there may be conversation about we continue our efforts on academic assessment, we continue our efforts in process mapping and documentation and improvement efforts in documentation. And those were our 3 strategic challenges, but I think that we addressed those very effectively during the visit. And so, not really, no.
Yeah, Dr. Peterson, it's hard to say at this point, because we feel that we responded to their concerns
I don't know
very
how they
thoroughly.
could have any concerns.
Right, so
We're
we
so
feel
damn
we
good,
did.
you know,
Yeah.
that-
Other than giving them each an aardvark, I don't know what else we could have done.
Yeah. And they got their swag bag. That was under $50, so that we didn't have to.
25. It was under 25.
Oh, under 25, okay,
yes.
good. But really, to answer your question, it's just like I was mentioning before. We feel like we've done a great job in responding to their concerns. They may feel the same and may recommend that, or they may feel that we still need to work on a little bit, and so a monitoring report, which is still fine.
But
But-
this is an ongoing thing anyway,
Yeah.
you know? It's
Right.
not something you do
You
now
can't
and then
avoid
forget about it.
one test or the other.
Exactly. Right.
It's just, this would be
Yeah.
more practical for us.
Right.
I think
It's a
that
pathway model.
one thing we need to keep in mind is if we get on their December agenda, and if we get a letter very quickly, and if it is 30 days, we don't have a meeting scheduled in January. So we may either need to take a proactive vote in December and say, if we're given the choice, we'd like to go with open pathways, or have a special meeting to make in January, or within that 30-day window, to say, yes, we would like to request open pathways. And so we're giving you this information now so that you're prepared for that. So that if the timeline is quick, we're prepared as a board to take action and say, and it's up to the board, we want to stay with AQUIP or we'd like to go with open pathways. I think we're hearing that the recommendation from the staff and the president would be to go with open pathways. But that is a board decision, but I want you to.
Faculty members.
Oh, the faculty are nodding their heads? Gee, I can't imagine with the intensiveness that we've gone through in the, just with the visit, but the portfolio and all of that stuff, that anybody would, anyway. That is a board decision, but I want you to be ready to make the decision because it may come pretty fast that we need to have a special meeting, which, as you know, we can do by phone if you're comfortable doing that. But we may have to make that decision prior to our following regular meeting in February.
Or we put it on December's agenda
Or we put it on December's agenda as
for a small action.
and for action saying, yes, if we're given the choice, we would like to go with open pathways. Okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
just seems to me like from what I'm hearing is that really better fits any institution because you know where you want to go and you're not bound by some decision-making somewhere else. Although there is some of that, obviously, but it's still more directly to what the college wants to do.
We're only.
The goals that we have. And
We're only addressing one set of things, the criteria, where now we have to address
Right,
the
yeah.
categories, the AQUIP categories, and the criteria, which is what gets jumbled up and
right.
And
messes up
AQUIP
your brain.
really was about helping people learn how to engage in continuous quality improvement, and I think that we've got that down. So I don't know if we need, AQUIP's a little bit like having some training wheels or assistance in that model, and I think that we are able to move from that model because we have that down. And so open allows us to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I
Yeah.
have. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Jensen, Vice President for Administrative Services, would like to come up, give us a budget update, and introduce our auditing company for an update on our external auditing report.
Thank you, President Bornstein. Madam Chair, members of the board, you have before you the budget report for the period ended September 30th, 2017. It represents 3 months of activity for this current budget year. And at this point, everything is quite stable. The revenue projections are on track, and I don't have any expenditure issues that I wish to present to the board at this time. So a very quick and short and sweet budget update at this point. Again, as I've mentioned at the last meeting, as we go forward and as the fiscal year progresses, we'll continue to monitor expenditures and alert the board on any issues that we become aware of. So at this point, I have no issues to report.
Are there any questions on the budget report? Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I introduce our external auditors, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our financial services team. As I've mentioned in the past, this is our accreditation, our external audit. And so very proud to introduce and recognize a truly remarkable team of individuals that were responsible for ensuring the financial operation of this campus is sound. So at this time, I'd like the members of the team to stand and be recognized by the board and the audience. And so I'd like to introduce Kara Berg, our controller, Kaylee Block, our budget director, Tina Romer, our staff executive, Ruby Kyle, our accountant, accounts payable, Paul Lind, our accounting technician and accounts payable, Kay McDonald, our accounting technician and accounts payable, Darla Underhill, our payroll accountant, Linda Sample, accountant and payroll, Jennifer Seedorf, our accountant in our foundation and grants. Christine Henricks, she's our senior accountant in banking. And Jennifer Gildorf, our accountant senior in accounts receivable. So I'd like to recognize and thank this team of people for their incredible work as we work through our audit each year. So thank you. There were a few other members of our team that weren't able to join us today. Mary Sorensen, she's helping out in our accounting area. Susan Bell, Andy Vowell, and Melissa Corvo are accounting technicians in our accounts receivable. So that rounds out the financial services team, so thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce our external auditors. We have with us today Marcy Arden, a director, and Chris Telly, the partner with BKD. They were our external audit firm, and they will present this year's audit to the board. Marcy, Chris.
Good afternoon. How is everyone today?
Well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. As mentioned, my name is Chris Telly. I am the partner on the engagement partner with BKD. That means I can come up here and smile and say hello to everyone, and Marcy takes over the actual formal presentation. So it's a good place to be in life. So greatly appreciate all the work the team has done. I understand what it is to have your day-to-day and then also have the audit on top of it. We greatly do appreciate your cooperation, the assistance of everyone, including the board, and thank you very much. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Marcy, and she will take you through the reports.
Okay, I'm going to start out with the financial statements. These are draft financial statements right now. Upon your approval and the issuance of the final foundation, we'll issue final statements in about a week and a half. Their board has not quite yet met to approve the foundation statements, but it's only a timing issue this year. There's no concerns there at all. So on the financial statements, just a couple of highlights. We did give an unmodified or clean opinion. It's the best opinion you can get. As regards to financial activity, on page 8, I was just going to look at the condensed statement and net position real fast, and really, if you take out the impact of GASB 68 and look at the financials year over year, you guys had a pretty status quo year, pretty even, no big real changes, nothing really significant going on. Some of the bigger changes were just some completion of capital projects added to capital assets. And then on the income statement side, those were also, when you take out the effect of GASB 68, fairly stable. There was some decline in tuition and property tax revenues. The assessments are a couple of years behind, and there's also been a decline in the oil property tax remittances. So you'll see a larger decline there, but overall the financial statements are in really good shape, a strong ending net position for the college. The one thing I wanted to point out at the back of the report on page 74, this is just an overall summary of the audit, so it kind of goes through everything we look at. We gave an unmodified opinion. I'm pleased to report that we had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls reported. No material noncompliance noted. And then on the single audit, when we look at the federal awards, we looked at the student financial aid program this year again. It had about $9.6 million in expenditures. We had no internal control findings over that program and no findings in that program, which is excellent. So, and I don't want to forget Nancy and her team. They do a fabulous job for us on the student financial aid side as well. So at the back of the report, there was a prior year audit finding, and based on our testing this year, we could say that it had been fully implemented and corrected. So that was it on the financial statements. I didn't know if you guys had any questions on those before I move to our letter.
Any questions for anyone? Okay.
How do you question?
How do you question clean? Yes.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Exactly. So
Subject, you know.
the The other document you have in front of you is the audit committee letter. This is our standard communication of everything we have to communicate with you guys every year. So on page 2, you'll see that there are certain estimates made when developing the financial statements. Those are listed out on this page. We do test those for reasonableness, and did not see any bias or any issues with those estimates. There is a financial statement disclosure just on a related party transaction in footnote 1. And I'm pleased to report on the top of page 3, we had no audit adjustments that were proposed and not made. So that's really good for the college. We haven't seen that for a couple of years. We had no disagreements with management. At the top of page 4, we do place reliance on the audit that the foundation auditors do. We place reliance on their opinion and their testing. So that just states that at the top of that page. We did help with the recording of the journal entries in the footnote for GASB 68 again this year. It's very complex, so we were engaged to do that. And we had no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. The next section is just other matters. Since we had no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or control deficiencies, there are some other items that come to our attention or that we want to raise to your attention as part of this process. So there are some expected changes in student financial aid in the security of information and student information. That's a really big area and push. They were thinking that they were initially going to put this in this year's audit requirements for us, and they took them out at the last minute, but they have given the warning that they fully expect them to be coming next year. So just so that I know Nancy and her team are aware of it and they're working on it, so just wanted to give that. There's also a couple of upcoming financial statement pronouncements. GASB 75 is the next big one. And similar to pensions, it's for other post-employment benefits. And so it will impact you as the school participating in para does have the healthcare trust fund as part of the para contributions. So that'll be another big number hitting your financial statements next year. The other big statement in the pipeline is the statement on fiduciary activities. They've better provided clarification on what comprises a fiduciary activity and how those are going to have to be accounted for. It does impact the college. Some of the student funds are held as agency funds, so student clubs, stuff like that is held as agency funds, so it will have an impact on the college. The next item on our list is understanding program costs and margins. And really, that's a really hot topic in higher ed right now, fiscal sustainability, how if revenues are going down, how are you containing your expenses, looking at kind of what are you getting out of your classes. And so BKD in our data analytics group has actually created a product that helps with contribution margin analysis and graphing it out and seeing where you can drill down into information. So just wanted to put that on your radar that we have capabilities to help you in the future if that's ever an interest for you guys. The other area, just wanted to point out, the internal audit function was eliminated about a year ago, so there's not really internal audit going on right now. That's always an area for risk management that you want to think about. So whether or not you hire someone full-time or contract out projects, that could be a good idea, just to look at specific areas of risk and make sure things are still operating smoothly. And with that, that leads into the final comment. And some of the things that we've seen organizations do is use big data. Big data is a huge thing. There's data from everywhere almost anymore now. And so some of the things that our big data group does, they can do AP vendor matches to look at high-risk vendors, high-risk transactions, duplicate payments. They can also do analysis on P cards to look for any unusual things. So those are just maybe some things where you could set aside and do a specific project, and maybe that would provide some oversight that internal audit would have potentially looked at things like P cards and stuff like that. So that is basically all we have for you guys this year. Are there any questions on the letter?
When you're
Thank
perfect.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all of your work.
Are you gonna miss us?
We're definitely gonna miss you.
Has Chris found somebody else for you to do it? Isn't that his job?
That is his job.
Did he find somebody to replace?
Not yet. We've got to get
Does he
him
get
to
on?
work.
I'll find something for her to do, don't worry.
Oh,
Don't worry. All right, we got
Thank
plans.
But we really thank you guys for all these years that we've had with you. We've really enjoyed working with you guys.
Very much so.
Thank you.
you've done a great job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
super job.
One last comment. Thank you to the external auditors for the great work they've done. But I was remiss in my acknowledgments. I'd like to recognize Nancy Gray and the financial aid staff. Of course, the work that our financial aid office does is exemplary. And please forgive me, Nancy.
Do you want to mention anything about the banner upgrade and the great job they did?
We just completed in our IT department and across the campus in all of our service areas a major milestone and an upgrade in our banner product. It sounds kind of a big name, but it's a tremendous undertaking. Brad and his crew in our IT departments and all of our functional people in all of our areas did an exceptional job, came in on a Sunday, did the testing to put the system in place. And again, that's our main administrative system in finance and banner, or finance and HR and students. So that was a really big thing. So again, congratulations to the team. Great work, and thank you. We're, I think as a campus in the nation, we're, as Brad has told me, oh, Brad's here, there we are, Brad, that we've actually are leading the nation as far as getting that implemented. So I think that's a credit to this campus and to this team of people that we've taken that on and done it well. So thank you.
Thank you. We'd like to ask Dr. Anderson to come up and give us an update on community and college relations, please.
Good afternoon. I wanted to begin by just giving you a summary of what has been happening with the 50th anniversary. We're kind of on the downhill with this year-long celebration. So we did on the 6th of October host the Aardvarks in the Dark concert under the stars. It was fun, but not well as attended as we had hoped, based on the fact that we had the weather was awful. Then on the 25th, we had one of our highlights, which was the Artie Underground, The Legacy Continues, which was preparing things for the time capsule. And we just thank Michael Millsaps, Chair Ruckel, and Dr. Bornstein for their good work in taking care of things for us. And please know that we will compile and very carefully vacuum seal everything to go in. And when you arrive on Saturday for the gala, you will note that there's a temporary plaque in place as we're waiting for the bronze plaque to be finalized.
Now,
Yes?
Mr. Millsaps did raise the question of putting the plaque in a slightly different place. So in 50 years when they try to open it, they have to really dig for it. So just, you know, a heads up for those of you who are going to be here in 50 years, just know that that's something to watch out for.
Oh, that Mr. Millsaps is so funny.
It's so typical.
Such a sense of humor.
And just remember, everything he did was behind a curtain.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know.
He is our own little Oz. Then we have coming up, or yesterday, I am very happy to note that I was in the top 5 of the pumpkins with 4 entries. But we had, I know, kind of sad. We had hosted the Cooked and Carved on each campus and had a chili tasting contest and a pumpkin carving contest. And then finally, on Saturday, we're very excited to welcome all of you to the grand celebration. I want to just take a minute, as we have 9 major sponsors, which include Trustee Wood and First National Bank and Trustee Hope and UNI Design, and combined with the 26 tables that have been sold and those sponsors, we have pre-sales in the amount of $31,000. However, we expect our profits to rise as we have 75 auction items that have been contributed, so bring your wallets and plan on staying late. The event will open at 5:30 and will just be filled with a shared experience, which will run through about 10 o'clock. Individuals will have an opportunity to tour the new ATTC building. There will be music, signature drinks, a great meal, which will include pop rock salad. I don't know if I'm supposed to let that out of the bag, but so you didn't hear it from me. We want to thank Fred, weather permitting. The festivities will begin outside with some focus on 1967 cars, vintage cars, so that'll be really fun. I so hope he knew he was doing that. Then CCR has really worked hard this year on making this a great year, and it's been fun, and we hope that you enjoy the finale. We will continue to celebrate in future years all of the things that came out that were the best of our anniversary. I was attending the work session and heard what you said, Trustee Wood, and so I needed to really make sure that people were aware that this year our enrollment was up 31% of new students to Ames, including students who were concurrent enrollment students that then matriculated as college students for the first time.
Was that in the report?
Yes, I'm hoping you read that. No. And no,
that's a good number.
I was hoping you noticed those bubbles I made for you in your last meeting.
I mentioned touches.
Yes. So
and we're coming up on those here in a minute.
But in conjunction with student affairs, we really looked at the students who began, that were new students or continuing students or reentry students who started the first day of the semester but withdrew within the first month. And that percentage we thought was relatively high. So we reached out to every one of those students to determine why they made the decision to leave Ames. And as you might suspect, for the majority of those students who were majority students, not students of color, the reason was that it was just too much with their work and home environment. But what did surprise us was the second reason why they left was transportation. And so that made us aware of the fact that we really need to look at the bus system in Greeley. We need to look at how we can help to transport students to our Windsor campus and our Loveland campus and our Fort Lupton campus when we have unique programs on those campuses. So that's really something that we will be including in the strategic planning as a tactical event.
Is that, excuse me, is that with traditional students or the concurrent enrollment students?
Traditional, well, it's all the, we didn't look at any concurrent students. This was
we have some of those that come here.
Students that, well, yeah, but we do, but these were students that were college matriculated students that left within the first month. And so then what I think is very exciting is the majority of the students that left were students of color. So our Latino Advisory Committee met for the first time, and the 12-member group recognized that they had connections somehow in some way with every one of those students. They were their high school advisors, counselors, they were part of the dream team and had connections. And so Dr. Gonzalez and one of the advisory members are in the process of reaching out to every one of those students to determine what, if the reason for leaving was legitimate, and if it wasn't, how can we help them in getting back to college, because we know that's a powerful thing for them. So that's really exciting.
Legitimate reason.
On November 15th, we'll be hosting the annual legislative breakfast where we will review our legislative agenda and how we align with the CCAG agenda and what other institutions are doing. And interestingly enough, this year, the focus will be mainly on legislation at the federal level as opposed to the state level. But we are continuing to track what we think will be coming out of the JBC and out of the education committees at the state level. And then finally, I am very excited to notify you that we have sold 265 Artie Juniors and 20 books. So my dream of being on the bestseller list is kind of going down the tubes. But anyway, we continue to promote the college and are excited when we partner with you to do that. So thank you. If there aren't any questions, that's my report.
I would just ask, if I may, Madam Chairman, you said a legitimate reason for leaving? I mean...
Well, they tell us there are reasons, and we want to make
but-
sure that what they say, that the reason they say to us is really the reason they're leaving. That's, you know,
If they say it's
But it would-
transportation.
like, for example,
then
some of them,
fixed transportation.
Right, that's what I was saying,
Can we
isn't
do
there...
an internal Uber?
but if some of them relocated, you know, we
Yeah,
had
well,
people
I-
that, and so that's a legitimate reason that we can't assist with. If they
Okay,
relocated to
so-
California for work, there's nothing, you know. But if it is transportation, then we can work with them to provide options like bus tokens and things like that.
What
Although
about
the
it-
bus system, we
What
need to
about
get.
an internal Uber, or would that be too much liability?
I-
Work
We'll have
study.
to look at
We're looking at that as part of our tactics for the strategic plan. But to be honest, we think partnering with public education is probably the best way to
Oh, I
go.
agree.
Public education or transportation?
Transportation.
Oh.
And we do support public education.
Oh, we do? Damn, learn something new every day.
Is that everything?
I'll bet you wish you could sit down.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Thanks.
point out
Thanks.
the touches sheet that you did just for Lana?
I thought I did.
Oh,
Did
sorry.
you notice that this is the second time I'm saying this.
31%?
The touches sheet I made just for you.
And I said, it's touched like, I mean, I love it. 21 million touches.
Yes.
Somebody's bruised.
And his name is Larry Wood.
I'm touched.
Dun, dun. Okay, Dr. Weisgeber is going to come up and give us the Student Affairs Annual Report. And Dr. Weisgeber is the interim vice president for Student Affairs. However, she's going to tell us that she has a different title.
Uh-oh.
I'm so excited I got to do the new title, walk up to the microphone. I didn't know if Dr. B was going to share it or not, so I'm really excited that I have the opportunity to share it with you. The first kind of highlight before we jump into our annual report is to share with you that our new division name is Student Engagement, Inclusion, and Success.
Uh-huh.
So I'm looking at Trustee Houghton going, I'm reading your facial expression.
I'm working on that
thinking,
acronym.
Right, okay, so let me help you with that because I have a good idea. So the acronym for that is SEIS. And if you think back to your Spanish courses that you took in college or high school, that spells SEIS, which is also the number 6, which is also the number of major departments that we have within the division. So that might be one way that you want to remember it. When you think of, what is the name of that division, you can remember it's SACE. Oh yeah, Student Engagement,
SACE.
Inclusion, and Success. I've been working on that. The other thing that I want to just highlight before we move into the annual report is to continue the narrative regarding where students are at this point in the semester. I think Dr. Anderson's report to you and talking a little bit about the students who withdraw in that first month is a nice segue into this piece. Right now, students are getting ready for finals. So they've just finished midterms in October and they're trying to come to terms with what that might mean. For some of our students, that's a hooray. They did a great job on their midterms. For other students, they're realizing that they need a lot of support. So for their stress tends to be pretty high in terms of student services. They're contacting a lot with our counseling department. They're working with our advisors. They are getting connected to us through CARE. They are also very excited for Thanksgiving that's coming, like the rest of us. And we're also getting ready to try to reconnect them. So on November 6th, registration opens up again. And we work as hard as we can to register as many students for the next semester before they leave on winter break. Because once you leave on winter break and you have several weeks off, it's harder to get that motivation up. So if we do the hard work before they leave, we're more likely to see more students persist. So with that, I'd like to jump into the annual report. But before I do that, I want to recognize the Student Engagement, Inclusion, and Success Division. So folks, would you mind standing up for those of you who are in the SACE Division and stand up and be recognized? The SACE Division.
There's more than 6.
Yes. I would like to share with the board that they do an amazing job, and their hearts for students truly are inspiring. And I would like to say to all of you, thank you. I appreciate the grace that you offer as we learn and grow together, and I also truly value the work you do with students.
Great.
So with that, I'd like to go ahead and start out by sharing a little bit about our admissions, registration, and records area. This is also the department where our registrar's office is located. And it's basically what happens in that department is exactly what it sounds like. We work on admissions, we help students with the registration process, and we also deal with the records piece, so under that guise of the registrar's office. A couple of highlights that I'd like to share with you. We had 10,289 admissions applications that were processed. We're very excited because of those, 97% were submitted online. So you'll remember back when we did our work session, we've been really working to try to get students to submit their applications online. Another interesting statistic that I'd like to share with you is that we processed 33,455 final grades. Now, I would like to take a lot of the credit for that, but we can't. We do a lot of the processing, but I think we really need to recognize our faculty in this effort. They do an incredible job, and I know this is Student Affairs Report, but I think it'd be remiss to not recognize the work that you all do in getting all of those papers graded, tests graded, quizzes done, so thank you for that. I'd like to draw your attention down to the bottom of your page that you have in front of you there and look at the transfer credit evaluations. You'll see that we had an increase in transfer credit evaluations from last year or from the 15-16 year to the 16-17 year. That fall we saw an increase of 11%, and in the spring we saw an increase of 9%. The reason why this is important for you is it means that students are coming from other institutions to Ames. So that's a number that we want to see continue to increase, those transfer evaluations. On the other side of the page, on the right, bottom right-hand side, you'll see that we have an increase in the number of degrees and certificates awarded. That's also very, very exciting, and so I thought I'd break that down for you a little bit, just to give you a little bit more information. We saw an increase in our Associate of Arts degrees, and we saw a huge increase, 22% increase in our certificates. And that is a lot of work on the work from this specific department and working with faculty, trying to ensure that students who are working toward certificates are filling out their certificates early, and we're making sure that we're helping them track along as they move toward maybe a larger degree program that they're focusing on. Any questions on admissions, registration, and records before we move forward?
What areas do we have more certificates in versus others?
You know, it was kind of a mix, and as we started digging into the data, that's something that I'd be happy to bring back to you. What we're finding is, as our curriculum changed and our degree programs changed, we need to be able to track our students through those a little bit more. And so we know overall that we saw a pretty, that we saw that increase, but in terms of identifying names of programs, because of the curricular changes, we're just not able to provide that right now. Questions. Okay, so let's move to the Dean of Students office. Last month, I told you that our Dean of Students was more than just a conduct person, and I'd like to continue that conversation now. Isn't that right, Dean McCaslin? Last January, we created the new program called CARE, and I know I've shared that with you. In our last year's numbers, we had 27 CARE reports that were filled. You can see there in the numbers that we were able to refer those students to various different sources and really get them connected to the different resources that they need. Right below that, you'll see 36 mediation assistance advocacy program numbers. So this is what we call the MAP program. And so when students have a complaint or they have something that they need help with in terms of a frustration and they need somebody to help reach out, they meet with PC Call over in the Student Leadership and Development Office. And he walks them through a mediated kind of assistance where he will sit down with the student and the faculty member or the student and financial aid and really help them communicate in a way that the student didn't feel maybe that they were able to. And so these numbers, it's good that they're low, means we're doing a good job, but it's also really great that we have that there. Any questions about highlights from the Dean of Students office?
How do they access that? Is that online they do it, or
Yeah, so they
do
get
have an office they can walk into?
both. So we want to try to make that as an open door as possible for students. So they can go into the office and meet with PC by just setting up an appointment. There's also an online complaint form. So for some students, they're not really sure who to talk to or how to do that, and it might feel a little bit scary if they have a complaint. And so just this year, in fact, we created an online complaint form where the student can fill in the information and then we can reach out to them on the other side.
That's not a very big number, considering
No.
all the students that are on this campus.
Yeah,
I mean, that's amazing.
I take that to mean we're doing a good job. Our faculty are doing a
Yeah.
good job. Our staff are doing a good job. That our students have very minimal complaints.
Yeah.
Mhm. Moving on to the next page, these are some of my favorite programs to talk about. There are impact programs. They include TRIO, Core, and Emerging Scholars for this year, the 16-17 year. However, I would share with you that in the current academic year that we're in, we've added one more program to under the impact programs. And so exciting pieces, you know, these numbers are always so impressive, and I think it's why when we look at our strategic plan, we look at opportunities to really leverage the success that we've had with these programs. We have 500 students who have been served by all the impact programs. We do a host of community community building events, transfer events. You see we went on 12 different cultural immersion field trips to help these students really connect to both their own culture, but cultures that maybe they haven't had experience with. So for example, I know one of the cultural immersion trips was taking the students down to the Greeley Philharmonic. Not all of our students have had an opportunity to attend the symphony, and that's a great way for them to kind of reach outside of the bounds of what they, you know, would typically experience. I'd like to draw your attention to the charts, and if you look, like the charts are all aligned there for you, and if you look under persistence, I'm happy to share that for the Student Support Service Classic grant, we've had 83% persistence. For the Student Support Services STEM grant, we've had 80% persistence. For the core program, we have 83% persistence, and for emerging scholars, we have 72% persistence. Persistence, because of the way these are, because of the way we report these to the grant, persistence means the same thing as retention. So when we think about retention, why are students leaving? How can we get more students to stay? And then we partner that with how do we want to leverage the success we're having in these programs. We can see why we want to do that. In every program, they've overshot their retention rate. So that means from fall to fall, a student who starts this fall is the same student who comes back next fall. And to me, that's very, very exciting because we're showing some of our most high-risk students are staying at a much higher rate than some of our other students on campus. Yes?
Quick question on the emergent scholars. All of the numbers look great on everything. We're meeting guidelines, but except for number funded. And in that one, it was 55%. Is there a reason that that's lower than what we expected?
Yeah, so what happened with this, and this is, last year was our transition year. So Emerging Scholars has existed on this campus, I would say for quite some time, probably since around 2006, 2007. And over that time, we've seen different ways that we can work with those students. Traditionally, this is a program that is truly for students who are only in developmental education. And then during this year, what we did is we made a change to the criteria in which the students can be involved in Emerging Scholars. And that change to the criteria pushed back the window at which students can enroll in the program. And so we saw a little bit of a shift there simply because of a transition year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you would worry about?
No, good question. No, I wouldn't worry about it.
On the number funded, is that just for a one-year program or 2 semesters? So that's not indicative of maybe a 2-year course of study? Or
Right, so for Emerging Scholars, this is just to get them through their developmental education. So
those 2 semesters per se, or whatever the goal is?
Right, and then the Emerging Scholars program works very closely with CORE and the 2 TRIO programs to create pipelines for the students who are in Emerging Scholars to then transition to TRIO and CORE programs. So the next page, Student Leadership and Development. We know these folks because they host our favorite activity every year, which is Fall-In, just saying. I'd like to draw your attention to some of the chart on the bottom left to begin with. And you'll see a pretty significant increase in the number of students who are part of student clubs and organization membership. You'll remember Dr. Barone last year around this time talked about a student organization called NSLS, which stands for National Society of Leadership and Success. And this program keep students very engaged through the induction process. They have various tasks that they have to do, volunteer opportunities, things like that. And the students are really, they really love the opportunity. They love the opportunity to put a leadership program on their resume as they're going out and looking for jobs. And so we see this program as very meaningful for students, particularly for students who want to be able to gauge their participation kind of in a way that works for their own schedules. The other numbers that I'd like to bring your attention to on the right side of the page, you'll see that 262 Greeley-Evans Transit bus passes were purchased. And I think that's salient. It wasn't planned, but due to our previous conversation Dr. Anderson was having about transportation, that totaled over 10,000 bus rides. And so I think as we can continue to work with Greeley Transit to try to figure out how we can get more students access to this, this is a great opportunity we have with our students. Lastly, for student leadership and development, I'd just like to draw your attention to the bottom right-hand side of your page and talk a little bit more about retention. So I told you earlier that we added one more program to impact programs this year. And the program, the FYE program, has been moved over under impact. And so it's an organizational shift, but I think as we look at the data, you'll see why it's such a good fit. As you can see there, 75% of students who participated in iFocus were retained, and compared to 58% who did not participate in iFocus. The same can be true said for Catalyst. 85% of the students who participated in Catalyst were retained versus the 58% who did not participate in Catalyst. So I think this is a great example of looking at those high impact practices and really individualized support for students. The Catalyst and FYE program really focus on those students in their first year. They work to develop community, they work to build leadership, and really foster relationships among the students. So I'm happy to share those numbers with you. Moving on, the Student Success Center is probably one of our biggest departments within the division. It includes academic advising, personal counseling, disability access services, career and transfer services, testing, and our international student program. I've talked to you a lot about advising. That's in my AVP role, this is the area I oversee, and so I like to be able to share this with you. shared with you a couple of months ago that we have developed a new online academic advisor training program, and that training is available to anyone, be they staff or faculty, to learn how to better advise students and really be able to assist students in that way. So you'll see with that, last year, we had 9,717 advising contacts. That's good.
Is that good?
That's good. That's good. It's an increase of about 300 from the previous year, and you can see those data at the bottom, in the graph on the bottom left-hand side of your page there. And so what we did to increase that, we did a lot of outreach, a lot of marketing, working stronger and kind of smarter with our admissions and records area to really try to get those students, drive them into appointments, and help them progress forward. In total, in the SSC, we had 21,000 student contacts. Which I think is pretty impressive.
That's 3 per student on the average, or roughly something.
Yeah, yeah. So, and those come in all different ways, whether those are through advising or a testing session or work with Dana Jones in our Disability Access Center. You know, these are kind of a host of services we offer.
With the concurrent students, they're getting their advisement through their counselors, aren't they? It's the schools to some extent, so that wouldn't be indicative. These numbers wouldn't have any of that.
There's some of them mingled in. So the concurrent students who are coming to college here on campus or taking classes here, occasionally they do come in and work with our academic advisors here. By and large, they're working with their advisors or their counselors at their high school or through like our early college area where we have academic advisors there. And lastly, financial aid. So one thing I'd like to talk about a little bit is financial aid provided 54 FAFSA help sessions on all 4 campuses during the 16-17 year. And the reason this is important is because students who feel like they can afford to go to college will go to college, but that FAFSA application is not easy to complete. And so Nancy's group tripled the amount from the previous year in offering these help sessions. And basically what that looks like is a financial aid advisor goes out and sits down one-to-one with students or parents if they're there, and they help walk them through the application so that the student understands what they're working on. You'll see a little bit lower, we saw an increase in scholarship applications that we received, which is also exciting that students are getting out there and really trying to advocate for themselves and earn some scholarship money. We also saw an increase of about $300,000 in scholarships that were awarded. Of those scholarships, just over 600,000 was Bright Futures scholarships. And an interesting piece about that, so this is for, right, our 16-17 year. In our current fall semester, we've already awarded $634,000 in Bright Futures. So it's exciting to see that move forward, and hopefully we can get on the same page with that. Lastly, I would just say in terms of our student loans, you know, we continue to work very hard to decrease the amount of student loans that students are taking. You'll see we did a great job. We keep, you know, a steady decline in the number of student loans that students are taking while we see an increase in student scholarships awarded. And so we feel like our students are moving in the right directions, right?
Well, I certainly think it's one of the best numbers. All of the rest of them, they're good because they're going up. This one's going down, and I think that's fantastic because I see a lot of kids coming out of college with 6-figure debt that they will never be able to repay.
Right.
And the lower we keep the student debt, the better. I think the whole country is.
Agreed. And our financial aid department has been absolutely intentional in the way we offer aid to help continue to decrease that number.
I'd say this is a very precipitous drop, which is great, like Barry said, but is this a national trend, or is this something that's local only to Ames Community College? I mean, I would hope that that's a national trend.
I don't know that I'm following the data close enough on the national, whether it's national
Well, I don't
trend
know
or.
if it
I
needs
know
to
that
be
Ames is,
national,
as
but-
always, you know, exceeding the mark.
Yeah, right.
There is a little bit of a national trend down. Ours is probably a higher percentage going down, but there is a little bit of that. Some of it is we have fewer students who are working on degrees and certificate programs, so that accounts for a little bit of it. And you don't qualify for the loans if you're not working on a degree or certificate. So if you're just doing personal interest or retraining, not really getting a credential, that's a little bit of it, but we are very intentional on what we do here.
Yeah.
So.
Good, super.
So on that 600,000 from Bright Futures, that represents, should I do the math on that? How many students would that be?
Last year it was 447 students. Mm-hmm.
So far, 639.
Ah, okay.
That's what I was going to, yeah. This seems like
So these are purely last year's numbers. I mean, we don't have
Exactly.
anything yet for
No, so
this
next year, next November, I will share with you this year's numbers.
So we should try to talk the commissioners into Ames Bright Futures program, right?
Talk a lot.
It's only 600,000 a year. Very good.
Yes, our students have been incredibly fortunate to benefit.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just seems like there ought to be more students that take advantage of
Yeah.
that than
Well,
than what
that's-
there is, but,
I mean, well, yeah.
yeah.
Thoughts?
Good report.
Great. Thank you.
How
I
many high
appreciate
school
your time.
graduates do we have in Weld County? Do you know that number?
Didn't we just have this, Jerry, what was the number? Oh, she had to leave. Do you remember what Jerry said, Nancy?
I think it's around 6,000 in Weld County.
6,000 in Weld County.
6,000.
Jerry had
Seems
earlier
low.
when she and I talked about it, was northern Colorado
Was the
number
20,000?
that she brought up.
Yeah, so we're looking at about 6,000 in Weld
Okay.
County. Great.
2,000 from, well, you have 2,000 in District 6, almost. Okay.
No.
So there's 20,000.
Thank you, Dr. Weisgaber.
Give or take.
This month is also the month that we present to you with the annual report from Human Resources and a report out regarding safety in the Clary Act annual report as well. So Dee Schultz, oh, there you are, is going to do that.
Good afternoon, trustees and Dr. Bornstein. Today I'd like to highlight some of our accomplishments this past year. About 18 months ago, during our business process review 3-day work session, we identified 6 processes that we wanted to streamline. Our focus was to create efficiencies in our hiring processes in several employee categories, such as our work study and our long-term part-time positions. I'm happy to report that we have completed 4 of 6. The 5th will be completed in the next couple of months, and we will finalize the 6th BPR, which is the most intensive college-wide process, faculty load and compensation with a pilot this summer. Additional efficiencies we have implemented include automation of background checks, drug screens, federal I-9 forms, and mandatory E-Verify check through our applicant tracking software, reducing the time between job offer and start date for new employees. The 10th annual health fair was held last month. We had a 15% increase in participation. 165 full and part-time employees and family members braved getting their blood drawn and received flu shots. We had over 20 vendors available to answer questions and provide information related to benefits, financing, and health. I'm not bragging, but however, our event was still the best attended within the entire 18 college benefit group. And more importantly, employees and family members were provided with crucial information related to the current status of their health. Campus safety and security worked with departments across the campus to update all continuity plans this past year. And they just recently completed an environmental safety audit of all 4 campuses. This audit included a physical inspection to identify any potential safety concerns. And we really had none to report, so great job, facilities, for helping us with that. Some highlights on the data we provided. The employee profile data is a one-time snapshot as of September 2017. This year, we included part-time in some of this data. As of September 30th, we are reporting over 1,000 full and part-time employees. These numbers do not reflect positions that are currently vacant or positions that were just filled. The employee demographics, gender, age, tenure, ethnicity continues to be fairly consistent over the past several years. The turnover rate has gone up slightly this past year due to a higher number of retirees, primarily faculty. However, we are consistently below the higher ed industry of 14%. In our recruiting efforts this past year, we have successfully filled 291 positions. Of these positions, 142 were part-time faculty and staff, and 106 were work-study student employees. The re-recruiting moves in part reflect employees who applied for and were hired were in part reflect part-time employees who applied for and were hired in full-time positions. We are attracting many highly qualified applicants, making the selection for the hiring committees difficult, which is a great problem to have. Into the employee benefits area, due to the Affordable Care Act, eligible part-time employees can take advantage of medical benefits offered through Anthem and Kaiser. We have 31 part-time employees who are eligible for these benefits, of which 17 have taken up the benefits through these providers. We also, however, provide for any part-time employee who is not eligible under the ACA, have an opportunity to sign up for a number of voluntary benefits we offer, such as accident insurance, hospital care, critical illness insurance through vendors such as AFLAC, and we have a couple of other vendors that provide those type of benefits. This is our second year with having Kaiser as a benefit provider. Enrollment with them is up from 5% last year to just over 14%. Employees seem to be very satisfied with the services they are providing. Medical services are moving more and more into the digital world. Both Anthem and Kaiser have programs called Live Health Online and e-visits, where employees can go online to discuss medical concerns with a registered nurse, providing quick information and reducing visits to the doctor's office. Under our talent management and retention efforts, Center for Professional Development has stayed strong with offering a large variety of facilitated training sessions and wellness activities for employees throughout the year. These range from all-day sessions to one-hour lunch and learns. CBD recently implemented an online professional development program which employees may request access through the Ames Learning Portal. These offerings include quick resources for employees who may want a refresher on using an Excel worksheet, to communication tips, to using personal protection equipment properly. A benefit for this type of program is that these offerings are available to employees at any time. Over 350 employees have participated in the college-wide facilitated sessions, which included conflict management, supervisor, and Title VII training. Through increased collaboration, over 330 employees have received training on processes revised through the BPR. All of these professional development training sessions are conducted on campus, are savings to the college of an average of $200 per participant. So that's a great savings for us. CPD also provides additional opportunities for staff to attend off-site conferences and training events specifically related to their position, allowing them to stay current and innovative. 75 staff members across 37 departments took advantage of this program. Some of our initiatives coming up this year will include conducting a college-wide compensation analysis. We will be looking at our compensation philosophy, internal pay equity, compression, market and competitive analysis. and the compensation plan for the next 3 to 5 years to address changes with the Colorado minimum wage. We are also adding 2 modules to our applicant tracking software, onboarding and performance management. Fully utilizing our applicant tracking software will enable us to gather and analyze data, allowing for more data-driven decisions. In closing, I would like to point out that we in HR, Campus Safety and Security, and Center for Professional Development would not have been successful in accomplishing what we have this past year without the support and patience of all the departments and employees across the college. And I'd also like to thank the board for supporting our efforts and opportunities for our employees. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Any questions?
I would just comment that I am just amazed every time I open up the Ames Daily and see all of these various opportunities that are available to the staff. Like you said, lunch and learns and workshops, and I mean, it just goes on forever.
Yes.
It's great.
We're fortunate to be able to have those offerings. And now I'd like to introduce John Foltz, who is the Director of Campus Safety and Security, for his presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John.
Chair Ruckel, Dr. Bornstein, board. I'll be real quick, just to go over 2017 stats for you for the Clery, which was recently posted. Everybody got a notification. Anybody that has an Ames email received that notification as well. First, to kind of just go over a little history of what the Clery is. So the Clery was back in 1986. It was named after Jean Cleary, who was a student at Lehigh University, who was sexually assaulted and raped and murdered in her dorm room. After investigation, they had found out there was numerous assaults and rapes that were occurring on that campus that were not publicly known to parents and students. So the campus is very unsafe. So there was a bill passed that said every year that Cleary report would be issued to all college campuses and be available for all students to pull. So this report is available to anybody to look at any time across the country and pull up on our website, as you can see it from the Safety and Security website. Some of the requirements of our Clery report, which we have to report, is we collect and count all and classify all reports and crime statistics for each campus and location. And those are pulled through our MATCN system, which is our internal reporting system that we have, and also through monthly report, which I receive from Weld County Sheriff's Department, which they give us any statistic of any kind of arrest or any kind of pullover or anything that they've had that's maybe in the vicinity of any of our campuses. So we get that for all our campuses, including Loveland. It reports that to us as well, which allows us to kind of analyze what is happening around our campuses. So to kind of tweak it if we need to send out an announcement to all our students, or what we need to post into the daily, or notifications to our staff and our students to let them know what's going on around our campuses. This report is also issued every year before the 1st of October. So this is the 2017 Clery report that I'm going over this year, but this is actually the 2016 statistics. Sorry, I'm used to having a clicker, so I have to do this with my fingers. So what we report on is criminal offenses. There's eight types of criminal offenses that we have to report to on this report, and I'll get to those in a minute. And we also have to report on hate crimes, which are involved criminal offenses. So if any criminal offenses that may be in the line with any kind of hate crimes, which may be racial or sex-based, with some of the trends that are going across the country on different college campuses, we try to keep track of those and make sure we're doing education and working really well with our SLD offices and our student offices to make sure we're educating our students and going over there and doing human-to-human events to make sure we're addressing those sensitive topics across our campuses, so we don't have those things kind of boil over with our students or in the classroom. So right here is a list of the eight offenses. And I can tell you our 2017 report does not reflect any of those offenses on any of our campuses, so that's a good thing. As long as we don't have any dormitories, so as long as we guys don't get any thoughts on building any dormitories, we don't keep that. So hopefully facilities here is going over there with that. But we are also required to report on our non-campus buildings and properties, which would be our properties such as our early college, which is in the corporate building, which we own, but they control and use it, but we have students in there, so we report on the crimes over there. Although they do have an SRO who's appointed through Greeley PD, we are in very good communication with them on any statistics over there. Their principal communicates very well with us. Libby is excellent with getting the communication back and forth to us. We also have to report on any kind of crimes that have happened on public properties, which is anywhere it could be from sidewalk to street to sidewalk. That's what the Clery reports on. So as you guys know, some of our campuses are located pretty close to establishments that serve alcohol or bars and stuff like that. So we did have a report that reflected on one of our campuses for domestic violence, but it was not on our campus. It was on a public property, it was outside of a bar. So, you know, a student might see that, but they do see it was on public property. So, but it wasn't on campus. So overall, as far as Title IX based and as far as domestic violence and our requirements for VAWA, which is Violence Against Women Act, where we have to report any domestic dating violence or stalking incidents that occur on our campus, we're pretty low as well.
So if there was something that happened on our Berthoud property, we would also get a report on that, even though we have nothing there?
No, we would not have to report that.
Okay.
No. Yes.
Okay.
So here's our statistics, and this is in the white column. You can see this is on campus. This would be all for all 4 campuses reflected there. Then the gray would be the non-campus buildings, and then the yellow would be the on property. Like I said, this is 2017, so it reflects the 2014, 15, 16. We have to supply 3 years of stats every year. So.
A lot of zeros.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of zeros.
Yes. Which is a good thing. And I'll say the thing about the zeros, and what we've been trying to do is we're trying to analyze not just from this, but the safety and security reports that we receive. We're trying to analyze the trends that we get from those and kind of to tweak what we want to do or how we're going to be proactive, or basically set up a strategic plan on how we're going to address things across our campus to be proactive and keep these numbers at 0. I will say the approval that you guys gave us last year as the board and Dr. B and the cabinet for the camera system, it has been excellent. We've had about 4 incidents that have turned into us where we've been able to review and find them on camera and basically shut them down and say, no, your car wasn't hit here, or there wasn't something stolen, your property wasn't stolen on our campus because we got this here. So that's been tremendous. Currently up to date, we are just finishing up with the Greeley campus, all the buildings that were identified for the camera project, and they will be done with the Loveland campus by the end of this week. And then from there, we will go on to the Fort Lupton campus, and then we'll start identifying some of the other buildings that have older systems and getting those all updated as well. We also do look at all those trends inside our TVAT, which are Threat Violence Assessment Team. And I'll acknowledge Dr. Wisecaber, who when she, in her interim role, I kind of took it to her when she first started and told her some of the things how I wanted to tweak it to make it more of identifying what the problems are, students' problems, and kind of get them assistance and kind of being proactive on how we do a thing, to kind of making it more of a team that's communicating and working together. And she's been tremendous on helping us tweak that, the way that meeting is ran and the way we're identifying things, and that helps us keep these stats down from a safety and security perspective and from the student side of things. So other than that, Brad's team has been tremendous with the camera project on helping us setting that up so it's a secure system where it can't be tapped into from just anybody on the outside or pulled up on the internet. So that we have those streaming in our offices in the new campus safety and security suite over in HR. So if you're ever through there, you can come by there, and we can actually see all campuses over there in the Greeley campus. So we're able to look at the College Center and see if we see a lot of people walking in there, or see somebody look suspicious, or get our response over there. So we're doing all that to help keep these numbers down at 0.
any of our new facilities like Windsor and whatever we're building, you're pretty much integrating that equipment with the.
Yes, and Brad's team is being instrumental on putting those all on the same system. So it's consistent across campus, so we don't have different
From one
systems.
campus to the next.
Yes.
Same equipment, same.
Yes, same equipment, same servers. So everything will be the same. And the vendor is local, actually, so the response to get them over here to help us and assist us when something goes down is pretty quick, really quick.
Which one of these line items are you afraid might have a 1 in it in the future? What one keeps you awake? Or you may say we have everything covered.
You know, I'll say this. There was an article in the Greeley Tribune today regarding a local college and the way they're investigating their Title IX. I'll tell you this: we've been doing a lot to try to educate our students. Dean McCaslin and Stephanie Lucero, who's our student behavioral officer, we've reached almost 1,000 students on educating them on Title IX and domestic violence and sexual assault. So I say those are the numbers that scare me, because I mean, as a parent, if I saw that, I'm going to be a little bit, hesitant on whether I want my daughter to go there. And she does go to Ames as well. So,
thank you.
Other than that, do you have any other questions?
I just think this was wonderful. You can submit this report every year and just change the dates. Or you could just write them and say, we have nothing to report. You could.
Well, I hope I can keep saying that. We're going to keep trying to keep doing that.
Well, we expect that.
Okay.
So.
It's nice to know.
The only time zeros mean something.
Yeah, right.
Before I go, I'd just like to acknowledge on November the 30th, right here at this location at 2:15, we're going to have a going away party for Deputy Weimers, who's retiring.
No.
Oh, no, 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 no.
So if you guys can attend, we would love to have you guys attend on November the 30th at 2:15. I've already met with the lieutenant and the sergeant from Weld County Sheriff's, and they have identified Deputy Balderas, who's been in the department a little bit less than less. And he'll be coming out. He's actually worked our campus before, so I will bring him around to introduce him to you guys when he does show up.
Super.
Very good deputy. Probably about the same height as Les as well. So we're looking forward to having him on our campus here at the end of the month.
He's not old enough to retire.
No.
Just look at this guy.
We need to get the rights for a stand-up poster that we can just let outside.
John, I did have a question.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the cameras and everything. Have we considered, or do we have call boxes, emergency call boxes across campus?
We do have call boxes across campus. We've had 2 instances where they've been used in the last 2 years. I was actually in kind of a email communication with Mr. Jensen, kind of talking about, because a lot of campuses are removing them. We were at a conference, and CU said the only time they get used is after 12 o'clock when students are drunk, and they don't get used a lot around our campus, but they are here and they are working.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will say they are bright. The one on the Fort Lupton campus you can see for a mile.
Is that the blue light?
That's the blue light.
Yeah.
Yep.
The blue lights.
Okay, I would like to, is Sue Airforth here? Oh, there she is. Sue has a wonderful report for you on her sabbatical. Sue is a professor of business technology, and they do have some information in their packet.
Yes. I did submit that report, Dr. Bordenstein and Board of Trustees. I appreciate being here. I'm excited to be able to say thank you for the opportunity, for granting the sabbatical, and for that being one of the benefits that we as faculty have offered to us. It is something as faculty with the grading, with the meeting with students, prepping, just everything that's involved. It's hard to get away to do something on a larger scale that is beneficial to the body as a whole. So with the sabbatical project that I worked on, I always had these people, this is my 17th year here, and this is my first sabbatical, and people have always said, why don't you take one? Well, I always had these huge ideas. I've talked with Jeff about it, and hey, let's create a Sim City for intro to business. But it's one of those things that would take years and years to do. This particular project came up being in a class, CIS 118 class, where we have Word, Excel, Access, and PowerPoint all involved together in that particular class. We have standalone sessions, we have online sessions, we have students that work ahead, those that fall behind, they come to class, they don't come to class. How can we better help these students in all of those facets, those who are working ahead, falling behind, or just those that need to remediate on a particular topic? So one semester, I was in a CIS 118 class. We were working with Excel, and there were 3 projects in that particular type of class. There was a training that I asked them to come to class with. There was a project that we walked together through in the class. We have an online ebook, and we have a printed book. They can choose whichever method they want. With the ebooks, we're finding people aren't really going through the textbook. So with that project, I would walk through with them. And then the third project of that was actually to have an exam that basically mirrored their training. So here I had a student ask, what is this flash fill that is on the exam? Was not in the training, was not in the project, and it was a brand new feature. So the students get one opportunity to take that test, and I said, hold that thought, I'll be right back. So I went and I Googled and I did some research and came back and assisted that student. But it's one of those types of things that I decided would be helpful to put this into some sort of a mini little video. And Flashfill is one of the first videos that I put together. And I just want to show you a snippet of it because I was told 2 minutes, get off.
And we're ahead, 2.5.
2.5, I'll take it. Well, and as an educator, we're trained to talk for 75 minutes, and we never let our students out early. So the thing here with this that's really beneficial is that they can be incorporated into our D2L program. Also, these videos can be made public. All of you could download. TechSmith is the manufacturer, the program name is Relay, and you could go and do a search on any public videos, and I made all of mine public. But the nice thing is that with our media people, we were able to, from my Relay program, just dump them into a course. So our students don't even need to download Relay. They could just come here and click on the link. And so that's what I'd like, sorry, I'm supposed to talk here. That's what I'd like to do for you, is just to show you one of these and just a portion of it. This was my first opportunity of using Camtasia. I never had used it before. I heard of it, had absolutely no idea how it would work, and it was wonderful to be able to branch into this.
By clicking the front, typing a V-A-N and a space.
So with this, students can be on any platform.
The Enter key.
I have
The
an
other
introduction.
three highlighted
I created all of these
surnames are currently
files.
correct.
Create a file and a
However,
script, and you rehearse,
as soon as Enter is pressed,
100
Excel
times, and
recognizes
then all
that
of the
Van
experts
came
said,
from the
rehearse
middle
again.
group of characters.
It's true.
And automatically assumed we wanted these
Students
three
can
other
make this
names
full screen.
to match the pattern used for Van Buren.
So with
Of
any
course,
platform that
this
they're
is not our
using,
desired results.
students
Before
can
we
also
fix these
use
surnames,
ADA
it will
compliant
be easier
with the closed
to just
captioning.
type in the 3 middle names.
The current version of Camtasia, not very
Quincy,
efficient. You literally needed to go through, look at your script,
and
and
K, period.
edit quite a bit of it.
Then,
Allegedly,
let's
the new
fix the
version
surnames.
has fixed some of that.
Be sure to remove all extra characters and spaces.
This version
Now
of
that these errors
Camtasia
are
also
fixed,
allows
we
you to
can
speed it
clearly
up if a
understand
student
why
wants to go
Flashfill
through
did
much
not
more
work the way
quickly.
we
They don't
humans
have
wanted
to
it
listen
to
to my normal 100%
Excel
speed. They
requires
can go all the way up to
consistency,
200%,
and not all of
or
the
they can
original
slow it
full
down.
names
They can go
contain
back and
3 separate groups
re-listen
of
to
characters
it as
that
many times as
represented
they want.
the same type of information. This scenario was a great example using a short list to learn about Flashfill requirements, errors, and fixes. Just be sure to always review the resulting information before saving the final version.
With all of these that I
Finally,
created, not only did I
besides
have the
extracting
starting file, but I
parts
always
and
tried to
combining,
put some information down here at the
Flashfill
bottom.
also works in reverse to combine separate cells
So that
into one cell.
students could go
So
ahead
let's
and
combine the
review back
first
and
names
forth
and the
as they were
surnames
working through it.
together
If there was a dull
and include some
moment,
new
which I
text
tried not to
of
have
an
any
email
dull
address.
moments, but if there was a dull
Let's
moment, they
start by
could go
taking
ahead and
the
look at the
first new
reference
pattern for
information.
Excel to recognize.
So
in
this
cell
particular one in
E3.
Excel allowed us to extract names with Flash fill and then to also
Washington.
put them together very easily.
At ames.edu.
So you didn't know
And
George
press enter.
Washington came here to Ames, did you?
Then, for the second desired name, as soon as we type the first character of John,
And there you have
notice that
Flash fill on
Excel
the
has
right-hand
immediately
side. I've
recognized
had
this pattern.
a few staff
It's based on the
members take a look
information
at this, a
again
couple of
adjacent
faculty,
to the new
and they said, I
column.
didn't know what Flash fill was either. I
And
always
once
saw
enter is
things
pressed,
pop up like
we
this,
have
and I didn't know
accepted
when
all of
or
the
where
Flash
or
fill
how.
suggestions for
So
the
besides
remaining
putting these
combined
files
names
together, I
with email
built in
addresses.
errors as well,
This combining
and talked about
example
how to
clearly
correct those
shows
errors.
what a huge time saver Flash fill truly is.
I think this is the end of
concludes
this one.
video tutorial on using Flash fill's feature for both extracting and combining information.
So gave them a reminder at the end as to what it actually was that they were taking a look at. Through my sabbatical, when I presented it, I stated that I would do numerous. I really didn't know how many that would be. I didn't know Camtasia before. It was a great opportunity to take a step back as a proverbial lifelong learner and to say, okay, I know nothing about this, because I really didn't, other than it would record my voice and some of the things that I was showing on the screen, but how or where or whatever. So it was also nice just to go back and say, oh my gosh, I feel like I don't know anything, to put myself back into that student role. And I incorporated that into my videos as well, to try to be succinct, to try to be clear, because I watched many Camtasia videos. And if you go into Camtasia, they say, oh, you can learn how to use this in 30 minutes. Maybe, I don't know. I had to re-watch their videos many times. Terminology, concepts, where are you pointing to? Are you zooming in, zooming out? Some of those weren't very clear, so I did try to make sure I did that, as well as I looked at YouTube. Everybody said keep it to about 7 minutes. This was my shortest one at 6.5. In my list, I have currently 6 Excel, because I interviewed a lot of the software instructors before I put together my list of what I was going to create. And many of them had the most problems in Excel. So I picked that topic, started working with that. I have 2 Word completed, so I have 8 completed. And this project is well worth it in funding. I appreciate that opportunity because it's not a dead end period. I'm done. I'm in the middle of, actually almost done with 2 additional Word. So I'm almost done with 10. I have 8 done and published online already, and then I have 2 more I'll finish up over Christmas break. There's just not that opportunity during the semester to really get back to it, to try to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. And as a business educator, that's important to me to make sure that that's all taken care of. So wanted to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you all. And go ahead and download Relay and search publicly for some of these videos. Learn a thing or two.
Thank you.
Any questions?
How do you get the speech down slow enough that Fred can understand?
He can actually slow it down.
Yeah.
It's not pictures.
Oh, okay.
Something to that effect.
Thank you.
Sue.
Thank you.
That's great.
Okay, if you'll direct your attention to the page in there that says President's Meetings of Note for October. Just a couple of things to draw your attention to. Sort of mid-semester, each semester is when the cabinet travels as a group to each campus to have cabinet conversations. It's sort of a brown bag lunch, just an open time for folks from various campuses to interact with the cabinet to get to know those campuses, and there's typically not a set agenda, and so we just had our visits this month to each campus. I also like to, at least once a year, but formally, have one-on-one times with the mayors of the towns with that represent each of the campuses that we are in. So this month, I've met with Greeley Mayor, Loveland Mayor, Windsor Mayor, and we're working on Fort Lupton Mayor. We have scheduling conflicts there. You can see other meetings of note that are in your packet. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else here that you might want to. Oh, believe it or not, also, this is the first time I've been able to visit some classes, which has been great. So this semester I was able to, so far, visit two, Francie Rotini's AAA class and Clint Heiner's Modern American History class. So Ann and I are going to try to get a couple of classes each semester that I can just go and watch. Okay. Okay, you got that. Okay. So if there's a faculty member that would like some, and I basically just sneak in and sit in the back and watch and sneak out. So, but that's been really fun, and I wanted to do that sooner than now, but was able to start doing that. Let's see, I'm going to skip down to, because you know mostly about that, I'm going to skip down to the acknowledgements and recognitions, and I'm going to try to not butcher this name. So our student, Lan Najunian, say it again, say it louder. Win? Okay. Was selected as our 2017 Phi Theta Kappa Global Leaders of Promise Scholar, which is fantastic. Lan receives a $1,000 scholarship, and this student, Lan, is being recognized for outstanding academic achievement and leadership. And so we also want to thank Dr. Shauna Lee Washam for serving as our Phi Theta Kappa advisor. And so always nice to have outstanding students recognized through Phi Theta Kappa. Just a reminder, November is a crazy travel month for me. You see down there secret executive team meeting, and then followed immediately by an AACC board and commission meeting. So Dr. Kish is going to be president's coverage for November, and so if you have any needs, obviously Carrie and Dr. Kish can respond. Any questions on that particular page, meetings?
Mm-hmm.
No?
I think there was a Tribune article about the scholarship winner, wasn't there? Yeah.
You'll also see on the next page our employee report. So you'll see new positions and new hires and folks that are retiring or leaving the employment of the college. And if there are any questions on that, we'll move forward. Oh, right, thank you. Thank you, good reminder. Are there any supervisors in the audience that have new employees with them? Oh, good, okay, so go ahead. Mike.
Thank you. First, I'd like to start off by saying they just left a few minutes ago.
Oh.
They started at 6 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
So they extended their day probably as long as they could.
Yeah.
But I would say that Gabe Gar, our ground supervisor, was here, and Diane Lucero, just a little taller than Gabe, she's our new employee for ground. So
Great.
they were here the entire time.
Okay, well, we'll give them applause. Yay. Thank you, Mike. Brad?
I have a few more that are not on this list because we failed to bring them in earlier meetings. But,
Okay.
got several here, and I'll just read a little bit about them too. Our first one is Blake Ketchum. Blake joined us, can you stand up? He joined us Ames in June of 2017. He has been in the technology field for 6 years, working in the private sector and healthcare. He has a bachelor's degree in network and security administration from Dakota State University and an associate's degree in computer network security from Southeast Technical Institute in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He reports that he is very excited to be at Ames and because education is important to him. Please welcome. He's our information security analyst. Next is Brandon. Brandon Hopkins is the new director for Information Technology Service Center. He has been in one role or another in higher education for over a decade, starting as a student employee in IT at his alma mater for roughly 5 years, and working up through ranks to a full-time position prior to his graduation. After Brandon graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Information Systems from Saginaw Valley State University in 2010. He continued to work there for several 5 years. Then he moved to Chicago in 2012 and took a lab manager position at DePaul University, leading a team of 8 to 12 students and working on creating an accurate inventory, implementing an equipment lifecycle plan, and maintaining good relationships with Johnson joined Ames in June of 2017 as the Director of Network and Telecom with the Ames ITS team. Ron has worked in IT for over 20 years with experience in the mental health, education, wealth management, and associated industries. Her most recent positions were Director of IT for Mental Health Partners in Boulder and Manager of Networking Systems Administration for EduCause. Ron received her bachelor's degree in English, History, and Education at the University of Colorado Boulder, and her master's degree in Information Technology with emphasis in IT management and networking at Regis University in Denver. She is a 4-H leader with Boulder County. She also judges horse shows and competes nationally with her paint horses at a variety of disciplines. Welcome. And Ron has got a couple of introductions that work for her as well.
Eric McCaffrey. Eric joined Ames in October 2017 as a network administrator. He's been with us about 2 weeks. He graduated from Purdue University in 2009 with a bachelor's in computer and information technology with a focus in networking. He's held a variety of roles throughout his IT career: tech support, project manager, systems administrator, consultant, and others. His previous role was as a network and virtualization administrator at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, helping to provide support and maintain connectivity for a large portion of Fort Collins R&D data center. He served in the Army Reserves for 9 years, and he recently started pursuing a Master of Computer Information Systems degree at CSU. We also hired Lynn Sheremy, who is apologetically very sick today. He joined Ames in June 2017 as a systems administrator with the ITS department. He was formerly a student at Ames, and he was a student vice president before joining the Air Force in 2007. He was in the Air Force for 10 years in positions including military police, technical support, IT manager, and others. You can ask him about guarding President Obama sometime. Lynn has 5 years of experience in information technology, and he has a bachelor's degree in IT management. He is pursuing a master's degree in information assurance with a concentration in cybersecurity with Regis University. And Lynn grew up in Windsor, Colorado, and his family still lives there. So welcome to Lynn.
I actually have one as well.
Okay.
Helen Valera is our new art department instructional studio tech. She started in August. She's not here. She has to go pick up kids from school. She actually started her education here at Ames Community College. She received her associate's degree, I think it was in 2014. She was my work study student and an art major. She went on to the University of Northern Colorado, where she received her bachelor's in ceramics. And then luckily enough, our position opened up for the studio tech, and now she's here. She is wonderful. I just want to say that. She's not in this room right now, but she's amazing, and she makes the art department great.
Any other supervisors with new folks? Okay, thank you all very much. Moving on, I'd like to announce the Ripples nominations for September. And I'll just go through the nominee. All the part-time faculty at ECA and Greeley, so that's a big group there. Stacy Takancic, Facilities and Operations. Erin Miyoshi, and I need to flip to another page. All the fallen volunteers. Oh, another Erin Miyoshi. Julie Lukenga, Mary Gabriel. And I say Julie Lukenga because I just learned how to pronounce her last name. She gave me a lesson. Jamie Gonzalez Pinedo, Holly Allen, Don Ulrich, Rosalba Martinez Sharp. And moving on to the next page, Matthew Seawald, Patty Gann. Is it Gann or Gann? Patty Gann. Flight Simulator Tech Staff, another Rosalba Sharp. Dana Jones, Cassie Crawford. Oh my goodness. This looks like a very large group of people. Lenina Olivas, Stephanie Baker, Greg Lafette, Connie Lance, Marge Lambert, Tom Shemp, Leah Shear as one group. Oh, and that's the end of that page. So those are the nominations for our Ripples. So congratulations, everybody, for those nominations. Well deserved. And I would like to move on to our Excellence at Ames section. We have Jennifer Ridgway, who's the Assistant Professor of English for the Writing Center and the Writing Center Faculty Coordinator. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about collaborative practices and the redesigning of our Writing Center. So there you are. So Jennifer, welcome.
So I'd like to introduce Jennifer to you. She has a BA in English, a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing. She's certified in post-secondary composition and reading, and she's an assistant professor in English here at the college and has been with the college since 2014. She is the faculty coordinator of our redesigned Writing Center that's a collaboration with our academic support areas. She's also co-developed with Trish Rand the Allied Health Contextualized English class pilot that we're running this semester. And as her chair says, she's amazing. So Jennifer.
Welcome.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you for asking me to be here today to talk to you a bit about what the English department has been doing in coordination with the Learning Commons to improve the writing support services that we give to our students here. So writing support at Ames has 3 different program sections that work in parallel. We have tutoring services. We've offered tutoring to students for the last 30 years, where students who are working in any academic class on campus can bring in a writing assignment. They don't need an appointment. We help them with drafting, revising, editing, anything that they ask for help on. The tutoring services also embeds tutors into the developmental English classes, where tutors sit in on classes for an hour or 2 every week, and they can answer student questions and conference with students during class time. Aside from tutoring, we have the writers community. The writers community was founded in 2010 by English department faculty, Holly Hartwick and Kendra Griffin were instrumental in that, as was Rebecca Saylor. And they provide writing workshops on campus. So how to write a great introduction, how to do a thesis statement, how to do an annotated bibliography, those kinds of programs. And they have events throughout the year. Another writing service that is offered is the OWL, the Online Writing Lab. That was the brainchild of the Learning Commons, and it started about 5 years ago. They asked Jared Merck, who was a writing tutor at the time, to start creating web pages on the Ames website that offer writing tips, grammar exercises and quizzes. There's also some instructional videos there. And that's to provide services for students who aren't able to come to campus for writing support. So if you can't come to tutoring, you can't come to a workshop, we have that available for you online. So these are all great projects, but they've been working completely in parallel. There hasn't been a lot of communication between the different people doing these 3 things. So what the Learning Commons and the English department started working on as of January last year is we're now presenting all 3 programs together as the Ames Writing Center. We started, Julie, Lukinga, and I had weekly meetings to talk about how we could coordinate these services, and there are a few things that we've already gotten to implement. So what's new? First, we were able to get in on the redesign, the remodeling that happened in the Learning Commons. So you can see we have a picture here. We have a new space. We were able to get some new tables. They're round. That's much more conducive to having tutoring conversations. And it also has encouraged more groups to come in and study and write their papers in the Writing Center. We are also doing tutor trainings now. So once a month, I lead a tutor training session with all of the tutors. We talk about best practices in tutoring. And I've also brought in some faculty members from other departments Steve Stager from the history department came and presented to the tutors about how history thesis statements are different than English thesis statements. April McClure came from the speech department and walked the tutors through how to help students with public speaking papers. And Shell Costello came in just last Friday and worked with the tutors on some new technology for writing that the tutors weren't familiar with yet. And then finally, just sharing resources. The writers' community workshops have previously kind of been spread all over campus wherever they could find a classroom space to fit in. The writers' community is now giving their workshops in the Learning Commons. Some of them are done in the Writing Center or in our atrium space for kind of smaller workshop activities. But they're also working and giving their workshops in the new presentation area of the Learning Commons. There's really great overlap that's happening there. Students go in for a workshop, and then Kendra can say, hey, you need more support with that? Here's where the writing tutors are in the Writing Center. And the tutors in the Writing Center are able to say, you're struggling with your introduction, we're about to give a workshop on it. So we're seeing more students for all of these programs. So looking ahead, we've only been doing this since January. So 3 things that we're working on for the coming year is we're adding new content to the online writing lab. Jared Merck is no longer a tutor. He's now a full-time faculty member in English. So he and some other faculty members are updating the content of the OWL, adding additional content to the OWL with feedback from the Learning Commons and from the tutors. We're going to be expanding our tutoring services as well. We've had an uptick, a pretty significant uptick in the number of students that we're seeing in the Writing Center. We don't have the actual numbers on that yet, but the tutors are saying that there's more people coming in, there's students waiting for them when they arrive for the day. So we might be expanding hours, we might be hiring new tutors. One thing we're doing for certain is there's going to be online writing tutoring now available. We did a soft launch over the summer, and we'll start advertising it for real in the spring, where students who can't come to campus for that one-on-one tutoring, they can do video conferencing. And there'll be a link for them to click on, and they can talk to someone in the Writing Center right then. And then last but not least, Travis Brown and Laurel Waller, who is going to be our incoming, she's replacing Julie, she's the incoming assistant director of tutoring. They're going to be working together to get the tutoring center accredited. Not accredited, I'm not saying the word accredited, certified through the CRLA, that's the College Reading and Learning Association, and they offer certifications for tutoring centers, and Travis and Laurel are going to be working on making that happen. Finally, I did ask our tutors at our tutor meeting on Friday what they thought some of the benefits were, and Travis and I were saying we wouldn't have come up with these. These weren't the things that were on our radar, so this is what they said. So the tutors said, we love being in the Learning Commons. It makes us more accessible to all students. And there's great synergy between tutoring and library resources. Books, librarians, tech support, they're all right there. So it's the perfect place for the Writing Center to be. And then on collaborating with the English department, the tutors have said that they understand that the concerns that they see most often among the students, that I'm able to then go back to the English department and communicate that to faculty and say, these is what the students are struggling with and what they're saying to tutors. And they've also seen an increase in faculty trust, of faculty bringing students to the center. We had a lot of class visits where faculty members brought their entire class over to the Writing Center and said, come here, work with our tutors. And that's increased greatly in the last semester or so, and they were crediting that with this new collaboration. That is all I have for you, unless you have any questions for me.
No, it sounds great.
Yeah,
Sounds
sure
like,
did.
the more we.
Great job.
More we try to help, the better results we're getting.
Absolutely.
We're getting support, participation. Get those numbers. Those are attagirls and attaboys.
Thank you. We're excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes the president's report.
Thank you. As always, lots of good information for us. That takes us to information items. Couple pieces of correspondence that you have in your packet. The first is an announcement and a thank you about the refunding of the Bueno Camp program for 5 more years. It's a program that's located on the Fort Lupton campus for first-time college students and just provides incredible support for those students, as well as full scholarship and expenses, books and everything for their first year. And when you're on the campus, please be sure to visit their special space for them. And the second thank you note from Chuck McAllister. Just want to make sure you know that Chuck was a member of the HLC visitation team.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ames is clearly a special place. No kidding, we knew that. But it's nice to have that outside recognition, so a very nice thank you note from him.
May I just make one comment on this?
Certainly.
For those of you who haven't seen this, I want to read it to you because it's also to you. Dr. B, thanks to your board, faculty, staff, and students for their warmth, spirit, generosity, and time during the HLC site visit. Ames is clearly a special place. Best wishes on your student-centered efforts to enhance economic vitality in the region. Chuck McAllister. And I don't know about any of you, but I have never, in my entire professional career, 5 accreditation visits under my belt, received a thank you card from a site visitor.
Yeah.
So this is amazing. Kudos to all of you.
Was he the guy, the one to my right?
Yeah, he was, yeah, he was.
Come on, you were there.
I remember who was to your right.
He was
He's
next to
was
me.
the vice
He was-
provost and dean of graduate studies at
Yeah.
Southeast Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
He was-
Thank you. Obviously, you did a good job.
Send him an artwork.
Moving to the calendar, today's meeting we've done. November 4th, the beat goes on 5:30 to 10. We will see you all there. And then December 11th, we've already heard about the employee holiday party and baskets that will be auctioned off there. Note that our Board of Trustees meeting in December is
The 13th.
the 13th. That's so that we can certify the mill levy and get that done without having to have a special meeting. Couple of additions to the calendar. Friday, and you've gotten this invitation, Friday, November 17th, the Ames/Policymakers Breakfast on the Windsor campus, Friday the 17th, 8:30 to 10 a.m. Thank you for not making that at 7. I appreciate that. And then you also got a notice about the Firefighter Training Academy graduation on December 9th at 2 p.m. You got emails on both of those, but I want to make sure those are on your radar. And November 8th is a wonderful event that I think this is at least the second time we've done it. The students have done this. It's called Stop, Serve, and Mingle, 9 to 4 on November 8th on all campuses, and it's an opportunity for students to stop in however much time they have and do some volunteer work right there here on campus. So a way to get involved in the community. That's November 8th, and those notices are in the daily as well. One other thing we want to talk about on calendar is the possibility of a January board retreat. We've done that the last couple of years, and I wanted to get your thoughts on whether you would like to do that and potential topics. We can wait to set a date till December if you want, or we can start to pick a date now, or we can send out, we can have Carrie send out a survey and see what dates work. What are your thoughts?
I'm in town most of January,
Okay,
so that Wednesday, Thursdays work good.
okay. And we might not need 2 days, maybe just 1 day?
Did we do it last year, one day?
Yes, we did 2.
We did 2 days last January because you were working on the new purpose, mission, and vision for the college. So I think perhaps if you have topics that you want us to focus on, that would help
Well, you might
determine
book-
whether or not.
book- Is it gonna be Pam?
It depends on what,
What we want
it
to
depends
do.
on what you want. You don't even have to have a retreat if you don't want to, but it depends on the topics that I think you might want to focus
I think
on.
it'd be good. I mean, you're gonna be doing some strategic planning. I mean, stuff that's, right, that's out there that's coming up.
How would
No?
it be
We're
if,
not doing that anymore?
We're doing that. We'll
We're-
be presenting our
But we're in the
strategic.
short grass.
Yeah.
right?
I'd like to decide in December.
You'd like to
Give it
decide
some
in
thought.
December?
I'd
Okay.
like to give it some thought about topics and
Yeah.
look at the calendar and make sure I got dates cleared and everything else before making a decision. So
Yeah.
I'd like to decide in December.
Okay, so perhaps Carrie can send out something to us, do a little survey of what dates work and what possible topics. If we don't have any possible topics, we won't do it. But,
That's right.
So get your thoughts that way, through a
Just a
survey.
thought that I had, and we talked about this, but if by chance we would get the report on accreditation, I think we could maybe use that as a discussion point or.
Could be.
But who knows whether we'll get it or
Yeah,
not.
we won't know if we
so-
get it.
But I guess that doesn't mean we have to do this in January either.
I'd like to make that an action item so we can just get it done, but, I don't
You know.
know, in December.
Well, as far as the open thing,
Oh,
yeah.
well, the open thing,
But I was just thinking about the report in general, that we might want to.
If we get feedback.
If we get.
if we get
But,
feedback.
yeah, we won't know that
Yeah.
in time to make a decision at our December meeting and set a
gonna be
date. So that's
gonna
just
be
kind of
more your-
fluid.
Your issue there. isn't
Yeah,
it?
I
Yeah,
think
it
with
is.
that, once we get the letter back, and if the board has already made a decision on pathways, then we can respond, and then we can maybe set up a work session to review what the outcome was from that accreditation. There may not be a lot for the board itself to do, but certainly to review
Their statement.
their statement.
And one other item to get on your calendars now, and that's graduation week, which is May 7th through 11th. And if it's like last year, some activities will start the week before, and there will be a graduation, firefighters or somebody does theirs on Saturday, the 12th, so just block that in your calendars now.
Right now.
Yes, right this very minute.
May 7th
Okay.
through the 13th?
May
May
7th.
7th,
So
the week of May
13th is-
7th, that Monday through Friday, graduation is on the 11th. Mother's Day is the 13th.
So the 11th is
So,
Saturday.
you know, those of us who are mothers are open to receiving gifts at that time.
Well, how about us fathers?
Yeah, Father's Day's in June, sorry, we're closed.
So can I just ask a point of clarification? Do we want to put on the agenda for December an action item regarding accreditation pathway?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think
so then
that's
let's do
Pretty
that.
easy.
And
I
then
mean-
also in December, we'll talk about whether or not we want a retreat and then what the topics are. If we want a facilitated retreat, it will be a short turnaround time, so I don't know who we can get. But just.
We might want to know what those times are available and then make a decision over email, what works.
Depending upon topic.
Topics?
Depending on topic.
Topic.
And we'll keep it simple.
Depending upon topic, it would be best
Short
to.
grabs, short grabs.
Yeah, right. Depending upon topic, it would be good to bring in the facilitator that has the expertise for that topic. May or may not be Dr.
Okay.
Fisher.
That's right.
Okay. Good.
If you would like me to look at Dr. Fisher's schedules, I'm happy to do that, but it will depend on what you want to talk about.
I think
Okay.
we need a little time to think
Yeah.
about what we want before we decide who we're going to have as a speaker. That'd be my idea, anyway.
Okay, thank you. Moving to action items, we have none. I know. What are you moving?
I move we accept them all.
Oh. Out of control, as always. Then that takes us to comments from board members. Wow, would you like to start?
Sure, great meeting. It's always exciting to hear, thank you. It's always exciting to hear about all the new programs and things going on at Ames and how we're continually meeting challenges and sometimes creating challenges and overcoming them. So it's an absolute pleasure again to attend the meeting and hear all the reports and everything. Thank you all for all you do.
Larry?
There's an argument on whether or not this will be my last
No, it's not.
It is not your last meeting. You
You
have
gotta
to
show
come in
up
December.
one more.
You cannot get out of here.
I know, but there, okay. But you swear in
So
my.
just
You
We
heard
could-
him say.
we could vote an
swear in
action
your
item.
replacement in December.
I know, and that's the next meeting.
At the end of the meeting.
No, the first of the meeting, read,
No.
no, read it. Anyway, the audit was important to me, I kind of like numbers, and that was excellent, and it was clean, and the group that put that together, that was awesome. And it's great to have somebody that you pay that much money who could say bad things about you, say all those good things about you. And they even said excellent. Usually you don't get auditors saying excellent, everything's satisfactory or, you know, meets the minimum. They did a fantastic job. And so you did a fantastic job. Congratulations. You know, I've said a million times how nice it is to meet with this group now, and everybody's smiling. 8 years ago, there weren't nearly as many people here, and those that were frowning. And we were going through, as today we started through the budget, we were going through, okay, which of these can we cut off? Which can we eliminate?
That was 8 years ago.
That was 8 years ago, and now it's so nice that we're able to look at the budget. We still have to concern ourselves with where we're going in the future, but we're not marking things off. If it's something that is beneficial for the district, we're able to do it, and that's fantastic. So again, what a pleasant place to leave. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I would just like to share with the group an experience that I had today. Most of my morning was spent in a eye doctor's office. And the young lady who tried to blind me, I think that's what she was doing anyway, she saw my shirt and said, oh, you know, I went to Ames Community College. And in fact, she said, I got all of my prerequisites out of the way before I went on to UNC, and she ended up with a bachelor's in, I think she said, medical administration or something like that. I don't know exactly what it was, but anyway, she was just very complimentary and talked about how she was on her own, she had to pay for everything, and boy, what a way to go to be able to do the first 2 years really on the cheap, but a good, but high quality as well. The eye doctor, Dr. Cruz, and his wife, who's sort of his assistant or something, I'm not exactly sure how she fits there, but she certainly takes a lot of notes as he's talking. And they both said, oh yeah, we went to Ames Community College, and talked about the classes that they had and how much good they had done. And it was just absolutely an incredible experience. And the Mrs. Cruz followed me all the way out to the front door, trying to sell me how great it was. Ames Community College is a jewel in the town, you know, and of course I agreed with her. And then today we went through all of these things where the idea is to help students get through, to do an easier job. You know, next time I have a conversation with somebody like that who says how great it is, or it was, then I can say, yeah, but man, you ought to see what it is now. I mean, the many programs, the helps that are provided, just boggles my mind. But this thing is great. Super job. Keep it up.
Thank you. Mark?
And, you know, last Tuesday we celebrated the HLC, and I want to thank everybody again. I know there's a lot of specific and broad participants in that across the campus and with faculty and staff. And atta boys, atta girls, again, thank you for what you did. Since Larry approved everything on the finances, I'm good on that one too. So this week it's pretty simple. No, we're going to really have missed this guy's opportunities that he's given this college, and next month we'll maybe bring him in a six-pack of beer that he can take home afterwards. But long and short, a little special note, about all that we're doing for the students as far as the little extra efforts, the writing classes, the different mechanisms that we're starting to blend, the actual advisement, the extra efforts, the extra caring parts. It's so important because it truly helps. Last 3 weeks ago, at the Guadalupe Center, they opened the permanent supportive housing, which is a low income. You have to be basically homeless to get in. And there was an individual that came in, he says, I think I'm going to have a good semester.
Oh, really?
Yes. And that's just wanted to let you know that those things win, and when you see students that need a little extra effort, let's try to do what we can for them, because just a little nudge will make it work. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to also express thanks to everybody for the HLC work. Brianne did an awesome job stepping in and pulling that together. I was able to go to 3 of the trainings and felt much smarter afterwards, and I'm very glad that I did that, because I just felt more comfortable when the folks were here, and I want to thank the members of the community who came to the reception that we had. It was just amazing to see the people from our advisory committees, recent graduates, a former trustee, who were willing to come in the afternoon and spend time talking to these people they don't know about how great the college is. And I think that was a really good message too to the visiting team, that yes, we had community people who were willing to give up their afternoon and come and talk about Ames and their role with it. And I know the Reina Grande event was mentioned, but how impressive she is, and it's just one of a number of programs that the college has sponsored on controversial topics, and how proud I am that we're brave enough to do that. And that we will take those on, we will invite the community to come in, hear different viewpoints. I come to as many of the human to humans as I can, because they are always really thought-provoking, and I just think it's a real feather in our cap, and we should be very proud that we're willing to do that. And if you haven't read any of Reina Grande's books, I've now read them all. She's got a new one coming out in the spring. I really commend them to you. It will really give you a different viewpoint on the whole immigration issue. So with that, we come to our plus delta, our assessment of our board meeting, what worked, what didn't, anything that didn't work. We all know what did. Anything that didn't work that we need to work on. Did we have the information we needed?
Absolutely.
I don't think we had enough information.
I'm so sorry. Please make a note of that we need to do. And did we focus on oversight, strategy, and challenges?
I think so. I'd say so.
Okay.
I just like to say, I really think, I really like the idea that we do this, that we don't necessarily discuss it in detail every time, but we know it's coming, so we think about it. So I think subconsciously we make sure we cover all these bases, so when we get to the end, we can all say yes. So it's a great idea to always have it in the forefront and be thinking about it.
Thanks
Thanks for doing that.
Thank you. Thanks for Dr. B for recommending that we do that.
Once a semester, we ought to have them vote. Now that
Says the
I'm
man
leaving,
who's leaving the board. Thank you very much. Perhaps in 2 years we can consider that. Is there any other business to come before us? Hearing none, we are adjourned.